Welcome to the new part of the book, HYPERFOCUS How to Work Less and Achieve More by Chris Bailey. Chapter 5 Making Hyperfocus a Habit. What makes our mind wander? There is a wealthy research that examines why our mind wanders at exact time we are trying to focus. It does so significantly more when we are feeling stressed or bored. We are working in the chaotic environment. We are dealing with the thinking about number of personal concerns. We are questioning whether we are working on the most productive or meaningful task. We have unused attentional space. The more we have, the more prone we are mind wandering episodes. The tactics in this book work for a few main reasons. While they are all enable you to focus more deeply, they also safeguard your mind from wandering in the first place. Later in the book, we will examine a few other factors that lead your mind to wander, including how tired you are and how happy you feel. For now, though, let's dive deep into the mind wandering factor I personally find most interesting, the attentional space we have to spare. The power of making your work harder. Depending on their complexity, tasks will require varying amount of your attentional space. If you have ever tried to meditate and focus only on the breath of a few minutes, you might have noticed your mind wanders more than usual. For more than we have when you are going for a run, carrying on a deep conversation, or watching a movie. These latter tasks are more complex and feel more of your attentional space by default. The power of meditation is that training your mind to focus on a small and simple object of attention makes focusing on more complex things easier. As a result, your mind wanders less often. You are able to focus more deeply and for more longer period, and the equality of your attention increases dramatically. Meditation practice are less intimidating than you may think and are worth trying. Concisely, making your task more complex and taking on more complex one is another powerful way to enter into the hyperfocus state. As they will consume more of your attention, this will keep you more engaged in what you are doing and leaves your mind to wander often less. In this groundbreaking book, Flow, the mainly offers intriguing insights about when we are most likely to enter into the flow state, when the challenge of completing the task is roughly equal to our ability to do so, and we become totally immersed in the task. When our skill greatly exceeds the demand of the task, such as when we do mindless data entry for several hours, we feel bored. When demand of the task exceed our skill, such as when we are unprepared to give presentation, we feel anxious. When the demand of the task are roughly equal to our ability to do the task, when we are playing an instrument, immersed in the book, or skiing down the freshly powered slope, we are a lot more likely to be fully engaged in what we are doing. If you find it difficult to become immersed in your work thoroughly, it's worth questioning whether your tasks are difficult and complex enough. If you are frequently bored, consider whether your job takes advantage of your unique skill set. If your mind is still frequently wandering, even after implementing the ideas in the previous chapters, it's pretty good sign your tasks are not complex enough and don't consume enough of your attentional space. The larger your attentional space, the more your mind wanders when you work on something simple. This is further evidence that smarter member of your team should be assigned the most challenging work. On the opposite end of the spectrum, if you find you are anxious at work, even after taming distraction and working with more intentions, consider whether your current skill are good match for the task at hand. Outside of questioning individual tasks, it's also worth reflection on how challenging you find your workload in general. The tactic in hyperfocus will allow you to accomplish more in less time, but you may find you don't have enough work remaining to fill the extra time. This can manifest itself in some odd ways. Our work tend to expand to fit the available completion time in productivity circle. This phenomena is known as Parkinson's law. But by disabling distraction in advance, you may find the same thing I did. Your work no longer expand to fit the time you have available for its completion, and you discover how much work you truly have on your plate. Some executive I coach find they are able to accomplish a full day's work in just few hours when they focus on only their most consequential tasks. I discovered this phenomenon firsthand with my last book. After handling the 80,000 word manuscript, which I wrote in a relatively short amount of time, I continued to be just as busy even though I had subsequently less work. My remaining project expands to fit the time I have available. Instead of planning for speaking engagement a few weeks before they were scheduled, I began to think about them much further in advance, far earlier than I need to. I logged into my social media account often when I should have been working. I stopped following my own advice and checking for the new email constantly instead of once a day. I enabled more notifications and alerts so I would have more tasks to tend to, and I agreed to more meetings, many of which I did not need to attend in the first place. I experienced a dread feeling of guilt whenever I was not busy, which of course disappeared as soon as I did more busy work. Little did I know that this guilt I had two sources: a lack of working with intent and my work expanding to fill how much time I had for it. It took several months before I finally stepped back to tame the novel distractions that were flooding my available time. In doing so, I discovered how little work I actually had on my plate. In response, I intentionally took on more meaningful tasks, writing more of my website, thinking about this book, and ramping up my speaking and coaching sessions. Because I think of myself as a pretty productive guy, my failure was tough to admit to myself, but it taught me an essential lesson. Doing mindless stuff at work or at home is not only unproductive but also sign you don't have enough important work. This also accounts for why busy work gets set aside when you are on deadline. There is no time available to contain in expansion. To measure if you have enough work in general, assess how much of your day you spend doing the unproductive busy work. If you are high on the busy work scale, you may have room to take on a significantly more tasks and become more engaged and productive in process. This advice is counterintuitive and the very idea may turn off if you already feel you are working at capacity, but it is worth considering. When we do knowledge work for a living, we procrastinate, spending time and attention on email and social media, task that makes us feel productive in our work but leads us to accomplish little. Increasing the size of your attentional space. Most of the focus strategies I have discussed so far involve becoming a better custodian of your attentional space, in addition to more deliberately managing it, and you also increase its size. To recap, the size of attentional space is determined by the measure to cognitive psychology refers as a working memory capacity. How many pieces of data you can hold in your mind simultaneously. The greater your working memory capacity, the more information you can hold at the same time, and the greater your ability to process complex tasks, as well as allowing you to take on more complex tasks. Expanding your attentional space offer other benefits. A higher working memory capacity has been shown to reduce mind wandering when you are focused on complex tasks. When your mind does wander, it actually wanders more productively. The larger the size of your attentional space, the more likely you are think about the future. Even better, a larger attentional space means you will have extra attention to think about what you will work on next while keeping your original intention in mind. A large attentional space also help you get back on track quickly after your mind wanders or you become distracted. One study expressed this memory when it started to possessing a greater working memory capacity enables you to take a full advantage of these underlying underutilized resources and return to the favored mental destination. So, how exactly do you expand the size of your attentional space? There are many brain training apps and websites that promises to build a memory and attention. Simply put, most of their claims are dubious. In laboratory study, they simply don't hold water. While a few brain training program works in the short term and help you remember a bit more and problem solver a bit better, their impact ends there. You have to stick with them for several hours a week in order for them to continue working, and as soon as you stop, you lose the gain you made. One study measured the effectiveness of this program across the simple size of 11,430 participants. It found no evidence that the app worked, even when the tasks they measured were the one they were designed to improve. There is, however, one practice that has been proven in study after study to increase working memory capacity: meditation. Meditation gets a bad rap and often conjure image of monk meditating in the cave. In practice, it's actually quite simple. Like hyperfocus, meditation involves continuously returning your focus to a single object of attention, usually your breath. As soon as you notice your mind has wandered from it, in breathing meditation, you notice the characteristics of your breath, how deeply in ebbs and flow its temperature, where it is from prominent in your body, how your in breath transition to your out breath, and so on. Since observing your breath doesn't consume your full attention, your mind will wander constantly, which is somewhat the point. Each time you return your wandering mind to the detail of your breath, you heighten your excessive functioning, how much control you have over your attention. This eventually enables you to improve each measure of quality in your attention. You will be able to focus for longer, your mind will wander less, and you will be able to work with a greater intention. You will experience this some benefit during the hyperfocus. Like meditation, hyperfocus is practice that compounds upon itself. The more you practice, the more you learn to manage your attention, and the longer you are able to focus the next time around. Meditation is simple. Sit somewhere with your eyes closed and pay attention to your breath. It's natural to feel as if you are doing it wrong, especially at first, but don't overthink it. The effect of the simple practice are actually profound. One study discovered that when participants developed a meditation practice, not only did their mind wander less, but they could also focus for longer before that happens. Two measures of the quality of attention. This study introduced meditation to students studying in the GRE, a standardized graduate admission test in the United States. When it came time for them to take the test, their score rose an average of 16%. Meditation has also been shown to prevent the deterioration of during period of their high stress, such as working in the chaotic environment or dealing with a personal concern. One review of the literature on subject described meditation benefit most successively, calling it the most validation technique for minimizing the disruptive effect of mind wandering. My favorite study of meditation measured how much participant working memory capacity increased when they had active meditation practice. The research guided participants through 45 minutes meditation exercise twice a week and encouraged them to meditate at home. A few weeks later, they discovered something incredibly in their working memory capacity of everyone who meditate. It increased by average of more than 30%. That was significantly more than that two other group of subjects in the study, one of which practiced yoga for several weeks. This effect was also observed after a period of just few weeks. To begin meditation require just few minutes each day. Start by determining your resistance level as you do before hyperfocusing on a task. Then sit in the chair in comfortable but upright posture so that discs of your spine are stacked on the top of another. Notice the equality of your breath and refocus on whenever your mind wanders. I highly recommend using an app to get started. I like Headspace and Insight Timer, which both feature guided meditation to help you get started. Approach each meditation session with a genuine curiosity about where your mind will wander. My meditation rule is simple and one I have stuck with for a year. It doesn't matter how long I meditate, as long as I do each day. Some day I can spare only minutes or two, with sufficient as long as keep faithful in the routine. When I began to decade ago, I did only 5 minute session, and since then I have slowly built to 30 minutes. I would not give it up anything. When you practice being with your breath, you are practice being with your life. But meditation is not only tool in this toolkit. Practicing mindfulness is another proven way to increase the size of your attentional space. It is similar to meditation but little less intimidating. Mindfulness is about becoming a conscious of what is filling your mind and noticing the circumstances of the current moment. This includes nothing anything you happen to the perceive and feeling and thinking. Mindfulness differ from hyperfocus in one more respect. It is about focusing on the circumstance of the present rather than becoming immersed in them. Here is a statement that might sound strange. You have never really taken a shower. While you might stand there while the water washes you, your mind is usually elsewhere. At the office, running through your daily checklist, thinking about what you need to buy from the dinner, or brainstorming about the problem you are facing at work. While a small part of your run through the habit sequential of taking a shower, your mind is not with you, present with what you are experiencing. A mindful shower is one in which you focus on the sight, sound, and sensation of the present, which enable you to train your brain to better focus on what in front of you. Begin to practice mindfulness by choosing one daily task that does not consume your complete attention. Sipping your morning coffee, walking through your office, or taking a shower, and intentionally be with the experience for minute or two. Anchor your attention to the circumstance of the present moment. Notice the smell, taste, and feeling a cup of coffee. The momentum shift in your body as you walk from one room in the office to another, or temperature and sensation of taking the shower. You can set the timer or not. Simply be with the circumstances of the present moment and notice as much as you able to seeing, hearing, and feeling. When you find yourself becoming lost in the thought, bring your mind back to what you originally intended to focus on and laugh at how difficult it can be to tame. Don't be hard on yourself when your mind wanders. Remember, your brain was built to do this. Practice like a meditation and mindfulness are also powerful because they train you to practice holding a single intention in your mind for a given period of time. During your meditation, you sit with the intention of being what you breathe until your time goes off. The same is true when you practice mindfulness until the coffee cup is empty, your shower is finished, or you are done walking to where you intended to go. You focus on what you are doing then and there. When you keep a single intention in mind, you are able to live and work more intentionally for rest of the day. And because both meditation and mindfulness increase the size of your attentional space, both practice make you more likely to maintain intentions. As if these benefits were not enough, meditation and mindfulness also help you step back from your thoughts. This make it infinitely easier to check what occupying your attentional space. The more you notice what grasps your attention, and the more quickly you will able to redefine your intention. With enough awareness, you might even notice your mind has wandered to somewhere productive and you want to continue the train of thought. For example, a higher working memory capacity means your mind is more likely to make plans and set intentions for the first. In the extra awareness, you gain the power to notice the object of attention at the edge of your attentional space, such as when you are seeing external stimulation or about to fall victim to seductive distraction. The research is clear. Mindfulness and meditation improve virtually every aspect of how you manage your attention. Every once in a while, I like to travel to the local Buddhist monastery to join the public sanctuary afternoon meditation. This usually consists of the potluck and hour-long meditation session, followed by a talk by one of the monks. During one of my visits, a monk spoke about how for several weeks during the meditation practice, he focused solely on the sensation his breath made on the tip of the nose, a impossibly small object of attention. I tried doing the same during the extended 2-hour meditation practice the next day, and my mind has never wandered so much. With an object of attention that small, it is no surprise. But the following Monday morning, I focused more deeply on my work than I had in a week. I wrote several thousand words in just a few hours, brainstorm like talk, and had time left more clear on my email inboxes. The positive effect lingered beyond the day as I was able to focus better throughout the week. The quality of attention is so integral to productivity that increase even slightly makes a remarkable difference in how much we accomplish. Luckily, you don't have to spend hours focusing on the tip of your nose to experience the remarkable benefit of mindfulness and meditation. Even only a few minutes a day will help immensely. If you take away one lesson from this chapter, it should be that few practice will improve the quality of your attention and a size of your attentional space more than meditation and mindfulness. While both will consume some of your time, you will make that time back and then some in how much or more clearly, deeply, and deliberately you will think and focus. Hyperfocus at home. Almost every idea in this book will help you not only at work but at home too. As I have put this idea into practice, I have noticed some remarkable benefits in my personal life. Chances are you were in the hyperfocus mode during your last highly productive work period. You more likely to similar state the last time you felt happier and energized at work. You were probably focused on just one thing, whether that was carrying a meaningful conversation with loved one, planting the garden, playing card with a relative, or relaxing with book on the bench. The one thing you were doing consumed your full attentional space. Because of this, you likely did not have many surrounding distractions. Your work phone may have been in the another room and you may have made a commitment to disconnect from the weekend. Your family may have agreed to the phone free dinner. You were probably in the more relaxed state, and because of this, you did not seek novel stimuli in the environment. You could focus with relative ease on what you were doing. Hyperfocus was the best term I could come up in the describe the state of being totally focused on one thing. though it does have the disadvantage of sounding daunting intense. In practice, hyperfocus is actually quite relaxed unless you are on deadline or are working at above capacity. So your work doesn't have luxury of expanding to fit the an amount of time. When you hyperfocus, you are surrounded by very few noble objects of attention, and what you are doing fill your attentional space quite naturally. This same idea hold true at home, and we experience the same benefit of hyperfocus there. We remember more of what we are doing and our experience become more meaningful as a result. We spend more time in the moment and get things done more quickly and what less effort. I like to do this by setting 3 personal daily intention in addition to my 3 work goal. Even if one happens to be watching a show on Netflix, one area I have noticed that particularly benefit from the hyperfocus is conversation. The secret to deep, meaningful conversation is simple. Bring your complete attention to the person you are speaking with. You can do this in many ways, such as by allowing someone to finish talking before you start. Wait until you hear the period at the end of sentence before you think about what you are saying next. I am convinced that the most people have the sixth sense and can tell when you are truly paying attention to them. It's a remarkable thing when you spend not just quality time with someone but quality attention as well. Hyperfocus lets me dive deeper into my personal relationship in conversation and other aspect. I am convinced that love is nothing more than sharing quality attention with someone. As the David Oxter, a Baptist minister and author, has put it, being heard is so close to being loved that for average person they are almost indistinguishable. When we are hyper focusing on an activity at home, whenever it is playing an instrument, walking the dog, or making dinner for family, disabling the pointless, novel distraction and focusing completely on what we are doing means we are purposefully disengaging from the work. This practice gets easier with time. I have devoted entire latter chapter in this book to recharging hyperfocus. We can do this periodically, stepping back from our work to let our mind rest, wander, and take on less challenging tasks. Spending our time at home more purposefully also enabling us to feel recharged. Whether at work or at home, the quality of your attention determines the quality of your life. At work, the more attention you give to what's in front of you, the more productive you become. At home, the more attention you devote to what in front of you, the more meaningful your life becomes. Thank you.